The only guy that, well, this was our first attempt, but usually when people are with this time difference, as Bobby is experiencing in Vegas right now as our Cowboys insider, you can't find anyone. No. And Lincoln Kennedy comes through, the NFL All-Pro, the Raiders legend, and Raiders analyst joining us on the D&M Leasing Hotline here on 105.3 The Fan. Good morning, Lincoln. Thank you. How are you doing?
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Saw you on local TV yesterday before my flight out of Vegas, previewing the game. Lincoln, are the Raiders this bad, and how surprised are you? We were thinking about and talking about Pete Carroll here, Brian Schottenheimer, with everything he learned from Pete. Geno Smith turned around the career in Seattle. Are you surprised they're this bad?
Yeah, I really am. I mean, coming into the season, there was always high expectations, and because there has been such a large amount of turnover for this team over the past couple of years, it's really hard to expect anything less. I mean, you really couldn't think that you could go worse than that they had last year when they only won 4 games. But, for the Raiders, they're still trying to figure it out, and they're trying to find, the biggest question for me, guys, is who ultimately is making the decisions? Is it Pete Carroll? Is our coaches on the hot seat? And the reason why is because this is a performance-based business, and when you don't perform, changes have to happen. So does ownership feel compelled to go back out there and deal with more coaches? With all that being said, it's anyone's game. They just got to finish the season strong. Hopefully they can find a way to turn things around and maybe even start tonight against the Cowboys.
What is the Raiders' strength and what is their weakness?
Defense and offensive line is their weakness. The identity of this team is definitely defense. The offensive line has been a troublesome in the group for the entire season because they really lacked depth. After Colt Miller went down, it left a big hole in the offensive line. And then when JPJ went down, who's probably, in my opinion, the most tenacious of the offensive linemen the Raiders have, when he goes down, they really lost their identity. So they're still trying to figure things out. Besides that, they haven't created any offensive continuity throughout the season. So they've struggled on offense. There was only a few weeks ago when they played Kansas City and they only had 30 plays, offensive plays. So, Kansas City had more first downs than the Raiders had plays. So it's one of those things where you're still trying to figure it out. And unfortunately, going up against the league in the NFL where everybody is good or everybody has potential, sometimes it can be embarrassing.
Is it difficult to evaluate Ashton Jeanty then because of the offensive line woes?
It's difficult to evaluate anybody because of the inconsistencies. The only thing you can probably evaluate is the number of plays the defense has been out there on the field. That's why that's their true identity, the Raiders' true identity. But as far as evaluating any offensive playmakers, it's hard to create it when you don't have a big load of plays. If you look at the Raiders' game total plays in games throughout the season, I mean, it's considerably low from what I've been used to. I think the lowest that I saw obviously was the Kansas City game, but there was a couple games where they only had about 50 plays, which, guys, when I played the game, we averaged around 70 to 80 plays a game. That's how fast we went. And that's what I thought is normal. Everything's kind of been reduced with people taking their time, and obviously all the other offenses being able to control the ball a little bit better. But, when it's hard to have that many plays, you don't have that many plays out there, it's hard to create any kind of continuity.
Lincoln Kennedy joining us here on 105 through the Van, previewing Cowboys and Raiders. They'll play here in Las Vegas this evening. Lincoln, we were talking about this a little bit a couple segments ago, that after the first quarter specifically in the last 5 or 6 weeks, Raiders have had a ton of problems scoring consistently. Like they've been a first-quarter team for the most part. What is it that's causing them so many problems where they get off to some of these good starts and then they just completely slow down in the second and third quarter?
Most of the time, the good starts come from scripted plays, and you can't script an entire game for a situation. So, there's times where you just have to make adjustments and be able to have to go out there and perform. And that's what the Raiders have issues with when it comes to adjusting. Look, when they go out in the first series, sometimes they have success, and they have enough success for opposing defenses sort of take notice and want to slow them down and do things different. The Raiders haven't yet to really make those adjustments to really put them over top after those other teams make those adjustments. But for the most part, the fact that Geno Smith has been hit so many times, has thrown so many interceptions, this is a quarterback that sometimes doesn't have a chance to look downfield and really survey downfield because the offensive line is so poor, the protection is so poor. They don't have a lack of run game. So there's really nothing the opposing defenses need to fear after that first series that's usually scripted.
How can they tap into some of the success they're having with the scripted plays? Is there a way you think that they could be, presenting the offense and cleaning things up that allows them to tap into some of those things that they have success when they're playing within structure?
Well, in my estimation, it's possible to slow things down and to not necessarily dumb things down, but simplify things in a sense where you're only running a handful of plays. Every offense that I ever played for, ever been on, had a handful of plays that we can call against any defense and be able to go out there and perform. The Raiders have yet to establish that because they've had inconsistencies with injuries and ineffective play across the board. So I think that you try to simplify it and just call some plays. And look, for my standpoint, coaches coach, players play. So a coach goes to a player and says, look, I'm going to depend on you. I'm going to rely on you because, Lincoln, we want to run over your side. I need you to get things done. It's up to the player to go out there and perform. And then if it doesn't, then you have an impasse that then something has to be dealt with, possibly that that player or that coach has to go because somewhere there's a difference that's not getting the performance out that you need.
Raider great and color analyst Lincoln Kennedy previewing tonight right here on 105.3 The Fan. You're going to hear all the pregame, play-by-play, and the post-game coverage right here. The Cowboys' new additions, Lincoln, what did you think of Quinnen Williams, and what should the expectation level be with a lot of new pieces? Logan Wilson at linebacker. They're getting their rookie in the secondary. Overshown coming back as well. How tough do you think that will be for the Cowboys to put all that together? Or do you think Cowboy fans should be super excited because there's just some new bodies on a horrific defense?
Well, that's right. The latter is the choice. The Cowboy fans should be excited when you talk. No, seriously, when you talk about the names that these guys have and some of the things that they can do, once they're able to put it all together, it's really going to be a force. It's no secret the Cowboys' offense can move the football, but they do have problems slowing down people at times, and then you can get into a shootout with high-power offenses. But once this defense begins to gel, once they find a way to generate a little bit more pressure on opposing quarterbacks, I think they're going to be fine. Those defensive tackles you guys got are really frightening, especially with this offensive line coming tonight. So this could be disastrous for the Raiders when you talk about this young but influential defense.
Lincoln, where did you stand on moving Crosby or not?
No, you don't move. You don't move Crosby. Look, when you look at the Raiders and you look at the most recent history, especially since they've been to Vegas, they don't have a foundation other than Maxx Crosby. And it's unfortunate. And usually teams build that up with, their draft choices and stuff like that, players acquired. There's been so much turnover with the Raiders over the last couple of years. There's no consistency. When they let Josh Jacobs go to Green Bay, they kind of started over again. And yes, Ashton Jeanty may be a force in the future to be reckoned with, but right now he's still a rookie. You talk about Brock Bowers, who's going into the second year. There's no longevity on this team once you look past 4 or 5 years, and that's where Maxx Crosby comes in. No, you don't deal him on it. You don't get rid of him.
Lincoln, outside of Maxx, where is the pass rush coming from right now for the Raiders? And how is Dallas has struggled? Dallas has created pass rush for teams where there hasn't been any at times, especially in the last few weeks. So outside of Maxx, what are the options? Where should Dallas have some of their concern? Should it just be double teaming Maxx Crosby and trying to chip him?
Well, that's going to happen, no matter what. But there hasn't been a consistency. I mean, you had guys like Malcolm Kuntz that we have high expectations for coming into the season, bouncing back from injury that he had last year. You got Tyree Wilson, a former number 1 draft choice, who really is coming into like a contract sort of year to see where his future might be, because the Raiders are going to have that option they're going to have to deal with in the near future, whether or not they want to keep him and move on with him. So Patrick Graham's defense, the defensive coordinator for the Raiders, has been really induced by pass rush. You've got to get a pass rush to the quarterback. Got to get to the quarterback soon, because there are holes in the secondary that have been exploited by other teams in the past. So if Dak Prescott has enough time to be able to survey the field, especially with this receiving core, I'm worried about the outcome of this game, because it can get really bad really quick with the Raiders not having the inability offensively to keep up with them. So to answer your question, the pass rush overall has been somewhat lackluster. If it's not for Maxx Crosby and his tackles for losses and being in the backfield and just creating havoc, there's a hard time to see anybody from a Raider uniform putting pressure on an opposing quarterback.
Given Pete's age, do you expect them to maybe try to get a quarterback in the draft in the offseason, or stick it out with Geno?
No, they're going to have to draft a quarterback. They're going to have to. They're the two big needs that I see right now, and I haven't even gotten into my draft evaluation guys. They need to draft a franchise tackle on offense, and they need to draft a franchise quarterback. It's long overdue. They missed it a couple of years ago. When they were trying to get Penix and stuff like that, and during that draft when they had 6 quarterbacks go in the first round, they missed their opportunity there. They didn't get the guy that they wanted. They said that they could be patient and wait, and they had a plan in mind, bringing in Geno Smith, a veteran that Pete Carroll is familiar with and can definitely work with. So they had something in mind about it, and of course the expectations were high with Chip Kelly coming from college after what he did at Ohio State, seeing what he could do on the next level and get him another chance in the pros. It just hasn't worked out, but they'd have to get a franchise quarterback.
Lincoln Kennedy joining us here on 105 through the Fan. Lincoln, you've referenced it a couple times now. You've used the phrase that things could get ugly quick for the Raiders. If the Raiders win this game tonight, what does that look like? What is it that they were able to do and execute with their game plan, you think, that caused the favor to flip for them?
Score more than 24 points.
Lincoln, has the Tom Brady storyline been overblown, or what has his impact been?
Oh, God, yes, it's been overblown. Look, I'm not sure what the general public, thinks about what's going on here with Tom Brady, but he's a minority owner. And he, just like Richard Seymour, just like other people, are minority owners, part of the Raidership. And I'm not sure how that board, that meeting room goes with all those personalities involved and stuff like that. But I will say this, the fact that Tom Brady is very charismatic and everyone knows him, it's going to garner attention no matter what he does. When he steps out of the Raider facility, somebody's going to be able to catch with the camera and say the words. So it's going to run like wildfire through the media and speculations. I have not seen Tom Brady have a direct hand on any immediate matters. Obviously, then when they talk about players and coaches, he was involved in the free agent search and, of course, for the coach and stuff like that. So, but going forward, it's going to be anyone's game. I just think a lot of it has been overblown as far as his involvement in everyday activities.
You are the man. Thank you so much for the early wake up, making the time for us. Have a great call tonight and enjoy the rest of the season. Thank you.
Guys, be well. Talk to you soon.